Hello and welcome to Megan's Mystical Mashup, a spiritual conversation with me and a guest where we can talk about life, the universe, and anything in between. I'm your host, Megan Rounds, spiritual explorer, spiritual connector, empath, and founder of SpecSed.com. Today's guest has been a member of the Lightworkers Lab since early 2018, and she spends much of her time in the main lab here and in the lab light room, where she hosts the weekly program Hello Spirit with Mary LaFleur every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Central Time. Residing in Texas, she's a teacher and spiritual entrepreneur, as well as an intuitive channel, emotional empath, claircognizant, energy healer, and Reiki master. She's a nature lover who recently became vegetarian, and she loves to learn about all things spiritual. Me too. Her thirst for learning has grown as she continues to expand her gifts, but she says what has remained constant since childhood is spirit working with her in her dreams. And one of those dreams actually included me. Let's hear all about that and her whole spiritual journey by giving a warm Lightworkers welcome to Mary LaFleur. Ta-da! Hi, Mary.
Hi, Megan. Thank you so much for having me on your show. This is so exciting.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And like I'd said, I've been waiting for years for you to be ready and willing and interested in coming on the show. And I'm so happy this day has arrived. So thank you again for joining us.
Yes, you are welcome. It's my pleasure.
Whew. Well, this show is all about your spiritual journey. And so the first big thing I'm going to ask you, it's a very big request, and you can take the ball and run with it as much as you'd like, but the big request is to share with us your spiritual journey. And you can start wherever in that you would like. It doesn't have to be a linear progression unless you want it to be, and we'll just take it from there.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, it's been a very interesting journey. I kind of said with spirit, it's kind of been an accidental journey. It's not something that I went out to pursue. I think spirit was just calling to me to help remind me of what I already knew deep down inside. But like a lot of people, I started in a religion. I grew up Catholic, never missed Mass, never missed a holy day. Even as an adult, I went on to teach children's CCD and I was in Bible study. But I always had an interest in the metaphysical. And I would buy books about channeling, about angels, very fascinated about it, but was always afraid to tell people. I even kind of hid my books away, feeling like, oh, I shouldn't be interested in this kind of stuff. But I just spirit kept leading me that way. And I would find myself at Barnes & Noble in the spiritual section, reading new books and adding to my collection to the point where I just couldn't deny this kind of niggling, I kind of say deep down, that I wanted to learn more. Then I got a wonderful book by actually a monk, Thomas Merton, and it talked about meditation, or in the Catholic Church, they called it centering prayer. And that really was, I think, the start of the awakening. Is for a good year and a half, I had a meditation practice that I would do every night. And it was at that time that I started being aware of angels and kind of communicating with angels. But I still didn't have a deep understanding of what was happening. But it was an amazing feeling of this communication. And I remember thinking, I have no one to talk to about this. Because the community of friends was very religious. And so, you hide away in what we call that spiritual closet. And I just had this yearning of wanting to talk more about it. And so it was in 2018, I noticed that things were shifting a lot more. I think my empathic abilities, I was connecting more with other people's energy. And I one day decided to look on YouTube, which is really funny because I had never looked on YouTube. I think I had the app on my phone because it just comes with the iPhone. And I looked at YouTube and I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to scroll through. And of course, I find Crystal Ann Compton and I find a video from her, and it was just speaking to me. Like, she understands me. This is what I've been longing for. And then I just started to watch all of her videos. And it was like, oh, there's someone who understands me. There's someone who gets what I am feeling. And that's what led me to the Lightworkers Lab. And I remember when I joined, I was so afraid to make any comments. I was just watching all the lives, wonderful spiritual information. But I think the one thing that I really felt when I was in the Lightworkers Lab is the high vibe, how safe it felt, how friendly it felt, how I could be, the safety allowed me to open up. And I noticed I would start commenting more and adding to the lives and listening to other people's story and seeing that, oh, this is a place that I fit in. There are other people that feel the way I do. And then the questions started, wanting to learn more. And there's an incredible free library on the Lightworkers Lab. So I started looking at some of the courses there. And then Crystal starts talking about this bliss retreat. And it sounded so amazing, but I'm a very quiet, reserved person. And I thought, oh, there's no way I'm going to go. I just joined in March and I'm just getting the feel for this Lightworkers Lab. But again, when I say accidental, Spirit will just not allow me to think through it too much. And it just kept pushing me to do it. And I just signed up and went, not knowing anyone. And I was so scared. And I remember when I had to get carpool with a ride, I was with Chris Hoffman, and I was like a groupie going, oh my God, it's one of the moderators. I was in the car with Kelsey, Kinsey White, with Ariel. I was like, oh my God, oh my God. And I remember not saying anything in that van. And I was just like, play it cool, play it cool. Don't say something stupid. That's how awestruck I was because I was so new to the lab. And then you go to the Bliss Retreat, and when you meet people in person, the lab is high vibe. But when you are with like-minded people that are so beautiful, like you, Megan, I met you at the Bliss Retreat. And I remember we were in one of the classes, and I was like, oh, she's a kindred spirit, because you had your notebook out and you were taking lots of notes, and I was sitting right next to you, writing as many notes as you were. I was like eating it up. It was just amazing. That Bliss Retreat was incredible. And so I do remember you asking me to be on your show, and I thought, little old me, why? I just I was so quiet. I don't even think I talked to anyone much at the Bliss Retreat at first. It took me a while to kind of open up, but I thought, oh no, I'm too shy. I'm too shy. Who would have ever thought,
I
2
did.
years later that, see, you knew. I was like, I'm just here to learn. That's all I thought. I'm just here to learn. But what I didn't know is that Spirit was leading me to these beautiful people to open me up and to help me see what was inside, because I wouldn't have done that. And from there, it just kind of grew. After that Bliss Retreat and feeling so moved, I took one of Crystal's classes, the Psychic Development course, and that really helped me crack open my abilities. And I had the opportunity to practice, and it was in a very safe, again, that environment. I always say safe. And that's coming more from my insecurities. I think a lot of people feel that way. If you've kind of been conditioned in religion, it's hard to come out and speak about spiritual woo-woo stuff. But as I started to do it more, there was no denying that the communication between me and my guides, and communicating with Angels was opening up, and I knew that I wanted more of that. Eventually, it led me to taking the intuitive intensive, and that was an amazing course. I learned so much from Crystal and Trisha, but the amazing part of that intuitive intensive is it really gave me the opportunity to practice my gifts on a deeper level and kind of just throw you into it. And one of the things that really, which is an honest thing, I did not know part of the intensive you had to do a live session. I remember it was on a Sunday evening, and I was like, oh, well, I'm going to look and see what's coming up for the week. And I'm looking, and it says, lives? What lives? What, we got to do lives? What? I know. I was like, no, I'm not. Oh, you know what? I'm not going to do it, Spirit. No. I'm enjoying the class, but and then I thought, well, this is why you signed up. What if you just do one? Just do one and see how it feels. And I did it, and it was amazing because I loved connecting with others, and I loved bringing messages to help others. And so I remember each time I'd finish, like, well, I'm not going to do this again. I think Spirit just got used to me going, we're just going to wait her out. And she'll get used to doing it. And then after the intensive, they opened it up that we could go in the lab light room. And again, I was like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. I enjoyed the class. I don't think that I am. And I just felt Spirit calling me to do it. And so I thought, okay, just give it a try and see how you like it. See how it feels. And again, before I ever do a live, it's always about connecting to and saying a prayer for whoever it is that joins that live. Because I love helping others. I like bringing through those messages. And I stop and I feel, think about when you were just opening up, how grateful you were for all those moderators that did lives, because I learned so much from them and they helped me. And I thought, okay, I can pay it forward. And I did go back and forth with a lot of doubt. And I want to say, I think a lot of us go through that. It's that building trust. Not so much that I didn't trust Spirit, it was trusting myself. Who am I to be doing this? Who am I to, have Spirit working through me? So you work through those worthiness issues and those doubt, and then comparing yourself to others. And as I kept doing it, I really enjoyed the helping, and I looked forward to doing it each week, and it just filled me up. What I didn't see coming was being asked to go in the Lightworkers Lab. And that was an incredible honor, because I was just, they reached out to me to do it, and I was like, oh my gosh. And that little voice in the back of my head was like, who are you to do that? Why should you be doing it? But I said, okay, Spirit, I'm going to trust that this is where I'm supposed to be. And I feel honored and to do this. And it's been beautiful. I started in the Lightworkers Lab in October, and it's been amazing, absolutely amazing. Yeah. So it starts with a curiosity, and it's just trusting that you trust where Spirit is leading you. Really. Yes, I'm in the Lightworkers Lab on Wednesday evenings. Yeah. And it's really neat to see the how wonderful the journey of going, and and meeting all the different people online, but also through the Bliss Retreat as well. Of course, we didn't have it this past year due to COVID, but it's just a wonderful community where you get to be yourself. I think that is what has helped me open up spiritually, is being able to have a community where you can talk about the things deep down inside that maybe others can't relate to, so to speak.
The thing about the Lightworkers Lab that I think is so awesome, one of the things is how there are so many different things there to accommodate wherever a person is at in their spiritual journey, whether they're at the beginning or whether they've been doing it for all of their lives. They're engaged with it in all of their lives, and things that may seem out there and unusual for some. Others are fully comfortable in it, but it provides that stretch to see what else there is beyond where we're at right now. But then there's also all of the things to support where you are at in this point in time. So I really appreciate your sharing all of that.
Oh, definitely. It is a progression. When I first started, I remember I went and got a psychic reading, and she knew that I was opening up, and she's like, told me, be curious. That's the advice that I was given. Be curious and see where it leads you. And when she said that, I thought, oh, I'll learn more about angels, because when I used to meditate, I would communicate with angels. And even at that time, I didn't realize how special that. I mean, I knew it was very special, but I didn't realize, not everybody does that. But what I didn't know was about interdimensionals or dragons or fairies. And I feel like on your spiritual progression, when you're ready, that information comes to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have never known where I was going to go, but at the right time, I heard the right message. And so it would be through a different live, because I like how they do the teachings. And so that's how I learned about dragons. I think it was Trisha Carr that first talked about it. And of course, now Rachel, I know the dragon lady. I like to, because she knows dragons. And also learning about fairies and these different things that I wouldn't have been ready for when I first joined the Lightworkers Lab. When you trust spirit, it starts to present that information when you are ready.
Yep.
And it will come to you at the right moment, and to accept that progression. And I think to keep an open mind as well.
Well, and I
is
think
a big thing.
I agree completely. And I think that with that, the things that, for me, when I joined, angels was a bit out there for me. It wasn't something I had regularly done, except I just only had one angel, so I wasn't looking at the full spectrum of, angel communication. And a good friend of mine was one that was like, well, that's way too far out there. And I'm like, I don't know, it's kind of neat. So I started really exploring that and got really open to that, and definitely a regular part of my practice. But just like you had said with dragons and fairies, that happened through this show for me. So Rachel Scheffler was on the show talking about communicating with dragons. I know I had heard it before from Trisha, but it was the time for me to hear it when Rachel came on the show. Mm-hmm. And at that time, a dragon came, and I work with this dragon now. So it was like, oh, that's awesome. I had to write down the name, and it's like, oh wow. And the only time I can remember the name is when I'm calling, when it's the right time to call the dragon. So it's like I can't remember the name unless there's, for some reason, a need to call in that dragon, and then I can remember it. It's so interesting to me how that works. And then the Fae, Wendy Cooper came on the show and started talking about fairy magic, and I was like blown away and thinking, wow, I've heard of this for so long, but it's this time that it really resonated with me. And so that timing piece is, I love how that works. It's like, it's the right time when it resonates. And if it doesn't resonate, that's okay. It doesn't have to,
That's right.
It'll
and
resonate
you don't
when it's
force
right.
it. That's the thing I notice, is you don't force it. I think spirit presents it when you're ready for it. And I think that's the same with your gifts. Like I didn't go right into channeling. I think I just knew information claircognitely, and that's why I didn't trust it. I had the abilities when I was younger, and then over time, as you get older, you kind of squash it. But I feel that spiritual awakening in 2018, I feel like my empathic abilities, I had always been a sensitive child, but I think that time for a lot of light workers, that energy was shifting, and I could no longer deny, that inner knowing that I was hearing. And then the clairvoyant stuff, came on as I started to practice in the psychic development course. And I think everything, like we said, it is a progression. And when you're ready to do it, even the mediumship, that's something that just came out of the blue. Usually it started around the same time, and it usually was at night when I was falling asleep and I was being woken up, hearing voices in my ear. Or I remember hearing a lady's voice saying, excuse me. I remember going, wait, what was that? Did I hear that? Did I not hear that? And now I'm kind of, before I go to bed, I kind of put up some boundaries. But if I forget, and they wake me up, I'm like, I need my sleep. Please leave. And it's funny to think, because back then I think that would have, it kind of startled me back then. Now I'm like, no, it doesn't, faze me now. But it is just that as you become aware and are ready, it all progresses.
For sure.
Definitely.
It's gotten me to thinking about the progression of, those gifts opening up. And like you'd said, I mean, in younger, as children, I know I had a number, I mean, my gosh, how did I not connect with the Fae? When I was constantly in nature as a kid, it's all I did. I was always outside. I was climbing trees. I was walking around in the woods by myself, talking to everything. And, I'd like talk, I'd like hang out with frogs and snakes. Yes, it sounds scary now, but, it's like I used to hang out, and, I'd catch field mice and stuff. Not to, I mean, just because I was curious and I would commune with them basically. And then I got away from it. And I think I shut all of those things down. But it's interesting to me is that I think that was a result of not knowing boundaries. I didn't understand how to set protections. And it was so overwhelming that I just was like, enough. Yes, I will talk to the one angel, but nobody else. And, that's kind of how it worked for a good part of my life. And then now, I mean, and over the past decade, maybe starting to gradually re-explore those gifts and bring them forth in ways a little more slowly, a little more palatably. Sometimes it still comes on by storm, but knowing how to create those boundaries that are helpful, like you'd said about sleeping, being able to say, yeah, I need my sleep tonight. I mean, it wouldn't have occurred to me to say that, when I was a kid.
No, and even as an adult, I didn't realize. I didn't realize how many spirits were coming in at night until I started hearing like knocking and sounds. And I think it was after that first bliss retreat, I was talking with someone about that and setting up those boundaries. And I thought, oh, I didn't know I could tell them no.
Dominion.
And yeah, that dominion and knowing that. But I think it's because everything was coming online. And I think what really shifted and awoke me was the empathic abilities. I was feeling a lot of emotions. I was noticing when I was going to work that I was feeling the feelings of everyone around me. And I would notice that my mood would change. And I'm like, but I feel really happy. So why right now am I feeling this? I was starting to learn about that empath. And it was through one of the moderators in the Lightworkers Lab that talked about how being an empath is not a curse, it's a gift.
Very much
and
so.
That really helped me shift, because that particular time at work, it was kind of a toxic time and everyone was feeling kind of down. And I remember feeling by the end of that school year, it was like, God, why does everything feel heavy? Well, that's when, I was really coming, as I said, online with the gifts. And I decided I could either take on and absorb everybody's and see it as a curse, or I could learn to do that hygiene of protecting myself and understanding that this is a gift that I can tune in to see how others are feeling and maybe through spirit help them. And looked at it in a different way, which really did help. And so it allowed me to open up even more. And that's when I was communicating more at night, there would be spirits that had crossed over. And then I learned that I really needed my sleep. And that's where I did the boundaries on that as well. But when you're a child, you don't know about that.
Right.
I think back and I remember having shadow people that would come up and try to scare me and feed off that fear, because I didn't realize how open I was. And when you're a young kid, you don't have anyone to talk to because you think maybe this is all in your head. This is, who do you tell this to? That's something I think with the shifts in energy, I think we're going to have a lot of children that are more susceptible to these energies. And that's something I can see me eventually doing with children, is maybe helping them understand their abilities and gifts. I've kind of put that out to spirit as something that I would like to do to help because I know I would have liked to have someone when I was younger,
Yeah.
kind of explaining things. Yeah, because
Well,
you don't realize.
yeah, my daughter who's 14 is, oh wait, not yet, almost 14, is, I am convinced is opening up in many different ways. She's been open in some
Wow.
capacity for a while now, asking if everybody can see colors of, and auras. And she knew what an aura was because I talked to her about it. But now some things are coming to her that she's not aware of. I'm hearing her talk in her sleep and she doesn't remember it.
Wow.
So I know she's having conversations. I just can't tell. So far, they seem okay, like positive, because she's like
That's good.
vibrant when she's talking. She's not like, she doesn't sound scared or anything, but she's afraid of our upstairs because I think that she sees things and can sense things and doesn't like it when she's up there by
Wow.
herself. So it's like but she can't articulate yet what some of those things are. So I'm like sharing what I can, but I don't want it, I'm mom. And so, she doesn't want it to sound
Yes.
preachy either. I mean, I don't want it to sound preachy. Um, Yeah, I love the idea of working with kids around this, and you have a very, um, I can tell that you're well suited to working with kids. You get them, and that's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, they see a lot more than we do. They're so open, and we get closed off as we get older. I know also when you say your daughter talks in her sleep. I do a lot of dream work. That is the other thing. When I started to open up, I started astro traveling in my sleep, and that is amazing. And it at first I was astro traveling, and my guide would be with me because I could ask questions about, so what am I seeing here? And what is this? And why? And they would confirm. And then I started astro traveling on my own. One of the really fascinating ones is when I think I went to a past life into the city of Atlantis and going underwater
Ooh,
and being under the ocean and communicating with past loved ones. It was a really incredible experience that I did. And I know I work out a lot of things in the dream state. And one being, yes, you were in my dream where I was taking a class from you. I don't know, I can't remember what it was that you were teaching. I had told you, but it was really fascinating. And I'll have dreams of other moderators in the Lightworkers Lab. And I swear that I'm doing like learning and kind of the spiritual work on that side when you're more open and susceptible to it, where you'll take
sure.
in the information and work. So I do a lot in the dream world and doing, I'd love to learn more about dream interpretation. That also fascinates me as well. But I think we could also help children when they talk about their dreams because they're getting a lot of information as well.
My daughter just had a very unique dream the other day. I'm not going to share a lot of it other than she was wearing a red suit and she was in Las Vegas, and I think she was like a mobster. There was a guy there who kept calling her boss and following her around and asking why didn't she remember him. She's like, I don't know what to do with that. And if you saw her, she's like, she does not at all look like a mobster or like a don. But it's like, so I'm like, I wonder, is that a former life experience of hers, or what was that? And it's, who knows? It didn't affect her mood or anything like that. She was just like, it was such an interesting dream. I really don't understand it. Oh, and all of that happened in between it's telling her to go and roam around, which of course would never happen in real life. But in the dream,
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, go roam around. And so she had a safe place to come back to. And that's what happened when she was like tired of this guy following her around, calling her boss. She came back to the car. So I'm like, I just now realized maybe that is the thing where I was the safety net for her in that dream. Um,
Oh, yeah.
and so, oh, thank you, Mary. Look at that. You have a
Yeah. And
gift. Of course, we all knew that.
I think a lot of us work out a lot of issues in our dreams. Spirit offering a lot of help for us because I think we get really busy within our daily life and not opening up as much as we can. I know for me on this spiritual journey through the Lightworkers Lab, I've learned a lot about the importance of doing meditation, which I had done before, that reminder. of that going out into nature and really grounding with Gaia, I think really helps open you up. Because we can spend a lot of time up in the 5D, but we also have to ground that energy here in the 3D.
Yeah.
I think for me, also on this spiritual journey, is accepting this of being different. I've always felt being different since I was a child. We hear this a lot from Lightworker Lab, members, and it is true because there's you know stuff that you just don't know why you know it, and other people don't, and you don't have that community to share it with, and you just always feel like this outsider. I know now as I'm doing readings and opening up to channeling, I'm working on the balance between the 5D world and the 3D world, and really seeing who it is I am, spiritual journey. And I feel kind of like that butterfly where I'm shedding my identity as a teacher and moving into this new spiritual journey. And this is a beautiful place to be able to do it. But I feel there are a lot of people that aren't sure about it, that go back and forth and know they feel this spiritual calling, but are also tied to the 3D world and everything we have going on. And I say that you can merge both. I think if you know we're here for a reason to bring down that information to then help others. And sometimes our ability or what we're here to do is just shine our light in what we're doing in our daily lives as well, in just being us.
So beautifully put. Thank you. That was just so nicely said. Just I kind of want to sit with that for a while because it's just the way you worded that is so nice. It's that whole thing around, there's so many people, what is my, who ask what is my purpose and all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
And I am one of those people who have been what I'd call a seeker all of my life.
Yes.
And that it's okay to be a seeker is one of those things that had to take place for me, giving myself permission to be who I am
Yeah.
instead of feeling like I had to conform to a particular box or a particular profession and all of those other things. And that other thing is that that whole part about we are here to share our light, whatever we're doing, that you
Mm-hmm.
can share your light with other people is a big important part of this human experience that I think growing
Yes.
up was not something that was emphasized. Like you can shine your light. Nobody ever told me that ever. And
It's true. And I think a lot of us, I know that I dim my light because I don't want to stand out
yeah,
or I don't want to
good
seem
point.
weird. And it's like you're seeking this permission to be yourself. And I feel when I got in the Lightworkers Lab, I could just hoist up my, freak flag, as I say, and just shine brightly because it is needed in this world.
Yeah.
And if somebody needs that permission, like when I'm doing a reading, then I say to you, then shine it because it is needed. And it's just being okay with who you are. And I have to admit, I struggle with that. There are days where I say, why can't I just be more normal? But
I hear
I
ya.
think it's Spirit's answer of you are normal. You are you, and you have to be okay with that. Be at home with who you are. And that is something that I feel that's helped me on my journey is finding this Lightworkers Lab and other like-minded beings that I can express myself without wearing any masks.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of us as light workers, and I am guilty of this, is wearing that mask. And it's not about being fake or trying to necessarily try to fool or be deceptive. It's wearing the mask to try to fit in. Like we're just so worried that if someone knows what, how we feel or what we believe in or that we're different, that we won't be accepted. So we keep that mask on. And I feel here in the year of 2020, it's really shaking you to take that off and say what's authentic and what's the most important thing. And for me, like coming onto your show and being out there in the Lightworkers Lab, I finally said I'm going to shine my light And if somebody else doesn't accept me, well, then that's their choice.
Yay!
And that's where I had to, yeah, I've come a long way, right, from
I'll
that
say.
first. I, I just remember you asking me again on being on the show, and I'm like, no, no.
Yeah. I
And
remember your physical expression, your response, and it was like mortified. It was like, you know. I'm
no,
so
no.
glad.
But if I could show people through this that you can shine your light, but also don't put a timeline on it. Don't think that I just got to this point overnight. This was a progression. This was just watching lives and information on the Lightworkers Lab to then I would comment, then I would finally post things, to then, coming into doing the intuitive intensives where you get to practice in a safe place. It's okay to take whatever timeline you need, whatever, to fully shine your light and be who you are.
Totally. There's two things there. One is, it's a bit of a mantra that I use now, is I'm exactly who I am meant to be right here, right now.
Oh,
Because that really helps
love
me to
that.
recognize that my whole life journey up until now has been exactly as it has meant to be. And I am going exactly where I'm meant to be. I may not always know consciously where that is, but wherever I am, it's exactly where I'm supposed to be right here, right now. And that helps me to in that self-acceptance and stop trying to think I should be further along or doing other things than what I'm actually doing. I find that really helpful. But the other thing that you brought forth is
Yeah.
like a redefining of normal. We've been brought up with,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big, I haven't talked maybe a whole lot here in the Lightworkers Lab, but I'm big about conditioning and how all of this social and environmental conditioning has led us to think and feel and believe certain things that no longer really fit for many of us. And so
Right.
redefining what normal is, because normal used to be like everybody else, right? And now how you put
Mm-hmm.
it, I love it, is just that you are normal. We're all normal. We are exactly who,
Yes.
if we're being ourselves and really, like you had said about the masks, that I totally get. I call it, there's a
Mm-hmm.
chameleon effect that many people who are empaths like me experience too, where you just, if you're not conscious of it, just fit in. It's like
Yes.
you kind of just adapt. But, that's a part of being normal too for us. And just really being intentional about when we're in integrity with ourselves and when we're doing it for other reasons, I think is a really important piece. But recognizing that normal no longer applies to that generic, collective, what's the word I'm looking for? Where everybody just is the same, homogeny. It's like, yeah, it's
Yes.
time for that to go out the window
It
or
is.
somewhere else.
I tell myself I don't want to be a sheep anymore more and
Yeah,
follow the flock. And
exactly.
I think it's when I started to be myself and accept it, that's how I found the lab. That's when spirit was like, okay, she's ready to acknowledge who she is. Let's show her. Let's show her there are others out there and that there is this safety in doing it. And it's liberating. And I have come out spiritually with my family. I've told everyone in my family this
Good.
is what I do. I communicate. I also do healing. That's been a wonderful thing. I worked with a mentor also with that. I feel a lot of healing energy that comes through me. That opened up doing light language. It's just
Wow.
this progression of different things that have cracked open when I've released that. But it's been amazing how supportive my family is. That is just has been really, like cheerleading me on, which is amazing. I'm blessed with a
That's
beautiful
great.
family. And so now I'm starting to come out with a lot of friends and stuff. And I just love what you said. This is who I am at this moment, and I accept who I am. And if I can help others see that it's okay to do that, that would be wonderful for me to help others feel that safety net as well, um, in shining who they are and opening up to their gifts as they come along, because everything does come in different timings. I think when you're ready, the healing was always there, but it shone through. So a lot of times when I'm doing readings, Spirit will call me to do some healing as well. And it's just been a wonderful experience. It
Well,
really has.
I'm so happy that that you've shared this, and especially congratulations on, you know, as we call it, coming out of the spiritual closet to your family. And I'm so happy that
Hmm.
they were open and accepting of that with you. I know that's a whole other program to talk about what that's like ahead of
Really.
time, and also what happens when it isn't so accepted by families, because I know sometimes
Yeah.
that happens. But the
Yep.
fact that you had the courage to do that in the first place is a huge spiritual step, in that journey. And so
Yes.
congratulations on that.
Thank you.
We're just approaching 5 minutes before the end of
Oh,
the
wow.
program. See, I told you it would go fast. It
Yes, it
always
did.
does. Um, but I'm also wondering, is there anything else that you would like to mention or talk about before we say so long?
I think we covered everything. I just want everyone, just have this need for all you empaths out there, all of you that are on the beginning of your spiritual journey. Don't give up. Don't be afraid to open up to Spirit, and see where it leads you. And know that there are so many of us light workers out there to reach out to for support, because I feel this is a time of a lot of people awakening. And know that there are a lot of us out here to support you. I kind of wish someone, I found Crystal on my own, but I wish I had someone that kind of reached out to offer that to me. But so if there are those of you that are just now joining the Lightworkers Lab, wondering what all this spiritual stuff is, ask that question, reach out to other people here, because we're all here to support one another, for
Yes.
sure.
Thank you. And yes, that whole thing that you had talked about earlier about safe, I think that is a word
Hmm.
that I have heard probably the most in on this show, as far as why, what they found in the Lightworkers Lab that was so compelling to them. Certainly there's information and understanding, but that safety
Yes.
of the group is so important in your own progression. About kind of, I use this word, you didn't, but like lurking. I was a lurker too when I first joined. I didn't
Yeah.
want to post anything anywhere for any reason.
Nope.
It took me a long time to trust that I could do that in a safe environment where I wasn't going to be criticized, ridiculed, or judged. And so,
Yes.
I think that's almost a part of the progression as well, as, going from caring, about
Yes.
that to feeling really comfortable to doing it, to then being able to go out
Hmm.
and maybe not being as concerned about what other people think, because we've stepped into our own in some way because of the support of this group. So, yeah.
That's right.
Thank you again, Mary. It was a pleasure. I knew it would be.
Yes.
So thank you for saying yes. And thank you for coming on to the
Oh,
show. I so appreciate it.
thank you for asking me. This was so much fun. You're such a beautiful person, and it's been an honor. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And thanks to everybody for joining us today. For those of you living in the US, happy Thanksgiving. I know it's early, but I won't be on until afterwards. So grateful for you all. Bye bye. Megan's Mystical Mashup was recorded live in the exclusive Lightworkers Lab Facebook group on November 14th, 2020. Learn more at thelightworkerslab.com. Learn more about Megan by visiting specs-ed.com/mystical-mashup. That's spex-ed.com. Thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe and share if you enjoyed the show.